Now, from CBS News Miami, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede. We are a little more than 2 weeks away from the Florida primary, and later in the show, we will hear from one of the candidates in Congressional District 27, Eliott Rodriguez. He's hoping to be the Democratic nominee to challenge Republican Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar. But we begin this morning with the race for governor. On Monday, a judge in Tallahassee ruled that James Fishback can remain on the ballot in the Republican primary. The judge said Fishback did not violate the law, which requires you to be a resident in Florida for 7 years prior to running for governor, even though Fishback admitted he voted in Washington, D.C. in 2020 and bought a condo there at the time, signing mortgage documents saying it would be his primary residence. The lawsuit against Fishback was brought by his rival, Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins. I spoke to Collins about the ruling and why he believes he is trailing the Republican frontrunner, Byron Donalds. Jay, thank you for coming in. Let's just start with the news of the week. Obviously James Fishback is going to remain on the ballot. You had sued to get him off. Your reaction to the judge's decision?
Well, first off, respect the court's authority, right? You have to do that. We are a law-abiding state. And while I don't agree with it, I respect his decision, though I think what he's done is essentially make home is where the heart is, the legal approach to residency. It's not good enough.
I think the part of the thinking of your lawsuit, and tell me if I'm wrong, is one, you felt that he wasn't qualified to run, but two, if you also removed him, had one fewer candidate, it could help you in terms of coming up in the polls against who everyone sort of acknowledges as the front runner is Byron Donalds.
Yeah.
Where do you see the state of the race right now?
So actually, let's address that just a little bit. This is about election integrity. We have to be a state of laws and rules, and we have to follow through with those. And when I saw something that I saw was pretty clear, pretty fact-driven, and though I disagree again with the judge's ruling, I thought it was very, very clear that he was not qualified to be on the ballot. And stepping forward and making sure we fight for that for the people matters. As to the state of the race, Byron Donalds stuck at 37%. That's where he's been for a very long time. Put differently, 25 to 40% of the people have had 18 months to choose Byron and said no. I am polling in the mid-20s. That was about a month ago. We'll have new people in the field now. We'll see where the numbers are at. But what I love to see is when I go out in the community, people don't want a talking head. They don't want a Fox News correspondent. They want a leader, someone who's on the ground, talking to the people, making a difference. It is a two-person race in the primary. It's Byron and I, and we're going to fight all the way to the finish to help lead our state, make a difference at the dinner table, not the boardroom table, and protect our people and way of life.
Look, obviously there are other polls that are out there. You're talking about your own internal polls. There are other polls out there that show Byron much further ahead. But let's assume that your polling is correct, that it is a fairly narrowing race.
Yes, sir.
Wouldn't the governor's endorsement of you be pivotal in this moment? Why hasn't the governor endorsed you?
Well, first off, the governor is the most consequential politician in Florida. I respect him. I'm his lieutenant governor, and I stand beside him in every single thing we do. In this race, I'm still the only person who he has not said no to. I'm still the only person who he handpicked to be the number 2 person in the state of Florida, and ultimately, that matters more than you could ever imagine because people are looking for somebody different. They love Trump. They love DeSantis. They do not love Byron.
But again, you and I both know that maybe he hasn't said no to you outright explicitly, but the fact that he has not endorsed you is seen by a lot of people as a negative, that there must be something in terms of your relationship to the governor that is holding him back from endorsing you. Otherwise, he would have by now.
Well, I don't think it's about our relationship. He and I are fine. We talk on policy.
Are you? Because there's talk that you are not necessarily fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't listen to what the bureaucrats say or the people who are insiders. We're fine. We have no issues. He's the greatest governor in our state's history, and I have the opportunity to serve alongside him. What I will tell you is that I believe in where we came from. I believe in what we've done, and I am fighting every single day for the people of Florida. Politics is not an easy thing. If all men were angels, we wouldn't need government, right? But the truth is, man, I'm still fighting every day for the people. Love our governor, stand beside him on the issues, and look forward to, if he jumps in, him making a great decision. If he does not, I still have his back, and I know he has mine.
Let's talk about the property tax amendment that's going to be on the ballot this November. Will you be voting for it?
I will be.
Tell me why.
Well, you know, while it isn't the exact bill that we wanted, it is the most consequential tax relief in terms of homesteaded property tax that we've seen really in our state's history. I think it's beneficial. It's money back in our people's pockets, and that's exactly why I'm going to support it.
And what's the impact on cities and counties?
Well, if you look at the math, 150,000 in the first year, 27, 250 in 28. I don't think it's quite as grave as what people are leading. Look at 2019 to now, 31 billion to 61 billion. We know that as a state, less than 30% of our property tax dollars come from homesteads. As is often the case, I don't think we have an income problem. We have a spending problem at the city and county level, and we've seen that with DOGE and FAFO. But now you have to take that next step, and you have to make sure that if there are misspending issues, we hold people accountable. And the last layer is this: no matter who the governor is, we are going to have to come to grips with the implementation of this if it passes, right? That means making sure that we protect our law enforcement, our fire, our roads and education. That is incredibly important.
But I'm not sure how you're able to do that if you're going to end up cutting. And this is when you talk about who's doing the running the numbers that you may or may not agree with. It's actually the state's revenue estimating conference has actually done the analysis and has found that it would end up costing taxpayers within 5 years, there'd be $13 billion or nearly $13 billion less in revenue. In talking to Jeff Brandes, former state senator, one of your former colleagues at the Florida Policy Project, he's anticipating that there are going to be police departments that are going to have to fold and be folded into county sheriff's departments. There are municipalities that will likely have to fold, that Broward County alone is projecting to lose between $300 and $400 million a year. There is cutting, and then there is radical cutting that will leave services blindsided. What is your response?
Well, my response is many of the people who are fighting back against this have a reason to keep it how it is. They don't want to lose money. They don't want to lose positions. They don't want to lose budget to spend where it goes. If you've seen it go from 31 to 61 billion since 2019, where did it go? It should be focused on education, law enforcement, fire, roads, sanitation, the things that are common to all. And if we haven't spent it on that, why haven't we spent it, and where did the money go? So what I'll tell you is, in today's world, we often look for sensationalism, right? What's the best way to say something that's inflammatory rather than facts?
Well, why isn't the governor advocating for this? Because he's not. He's basically said that he's walking away now. Since they didn't go with his plan, which was to abolish all property taxes, including those for schools, because they didn't go with his, he's not going to campaign for it. I don't know anybody who's campaigning for it. So why do you think the governor has just completely abdicated on this issue?
Well, I think he's frustrated with the fact that the trust fund's not there, that we didn't protect law enforcement and fire, and we put those people who we should stand beside at risk. Cities and counties are already trying to use that as a wedge issue.
So then you agree that if this passes, it puts police and fire at risk?
Well, that's where leadership comes in. And if elected the next governor, look, I think you can get this, you can land this, and we can absolutely protect our law enforcement and fire, but you're going to have to come forward, make a decision, and wade in. Man, being a leader doesn't mean everything is going to be easy. It's not going to be all roses, right?
I think everyone wants property tax reform. I think there are serious issues. I'm not sure this proposal gets you to where you want to be. It may be better. Is it better to pass a bad plan now than a better plan a year from now?
So what I'll tell you is, look, if this fails, we're going to go back to the well. And my approach as governor would be to hit 67 counties. We're going to talk to people, and we're going to lay that math out. We can agree to agree to disagree, but either way, we're going to move forward.
I want to talk about data centers.
Oh, fun.
This has been an issue that I think a year ago, if you had asked the average voter about data centers, they would have had no idea what you were talking about. Now, I think it is coming front and center. Talk to me about your approach to this issue and where you think this is a key point between you and Byron Donalds, I believe.
Well, this is a key part of the race. And Jim, you're hitting it on the head, man. 6 months ago, this was not where it is today. This has come to a culminating time in our state, and people are very afraid. But there's a lot of misinformation, as is always the case, right? It's unfortunate. So you have three macro perspectives. You have the Byron approach, which is raise the racing flag and let it rip. I'm afraid of overgrowth. I think it's going to hurt agriculture. I think it's going to hurt our municipalities. I think it's going to hurt our green zones, our waterways, and I think it's going to degrade our aquifers. You have this artificial moratorium. Look, I don't want federal overreach. I do not want our state to become what we fought against. And I am more of a local and home rule person.
So what would your approach be?
I am more of a local and a home rule person than I am a state jumping in and preempting. My approach is exactly what we're doing as a state. Put laws in place, guardrails that protect our people, that protect our communities, and allow those cities and counties to make a decision. So one, zero power cost can be passed on to people. That is non-negotiable. If you can't show us that, we're not going to trust. We're going to verify. And if it's not fact, we're not going to let you build. That's what it should be. Two, water. Cooling is a huge issue. And the real issue here is hyperscale data centers. Data centers historically have been around since 1950 in some way, shape, or form. Hyperscale data centers can take the same amount of power and water as a city of 50 to 100,000 people, Jim. That's what has everyone up in arms. So zero power and water degradation. Do not damage our aquifers. Do not put crap out into the water that's going to harm our environment. We don't want that. We want to keep Florida what it is. Number three, and this is really something that's important to me, you cannot build a good business relationship if you have everything wrapped up in NDA. And it's not about the two parties, it's about the people. They deserve to know factually who's coming in, what it's going to look like, and the NDA can't hide the end customer for that data center. But the fourth thing is this, Jim. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I believe in local and home rule, but I also promise you if you lie, cheat, steal, dupe, or mislead people in our cities and counties, as a state, we are going to come and we're going to push you. We're going to fight and we're going to protect our people.
You can see my full interview with Jay Collins on CBSMiami.com. But when we come back, newsman turned congressional candidate Elliott Rodriguez. Stay with us. Welcome back. After working years right here in this studio, Elliott Rodriguez left the news business last year and said he was looking forward to spending more time with his family. But rather than kick back, he made the decision a few months ago to run for Congress. He is now in a competitive primary fight against former prosecutor Robin Peguero for the Democratic nomination in Congressional District 27. The winner will take on Republican Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar in a race Democrats believe they can flip this year. Elliott is here with us now, and Elliott, thanks for coming in. Does the place look familiar?
My pleasure. Wow, what a lot of memories I have here, Jim. 25 years I worked here. Thank you for the invitation to come back.
No, not at all. So let's start with a question. Robin Peguero is hitting you right now because you refuse to debate. We offered you the opportunity to sit here with Robin and do a debate with him so the voters of District 27 will be better informed. Why not debate your opponent?
Well, Jim, as you know, I got into this race late. I was working till December of last year in this very studio, and I didn't enter this race until March, so that is late. The gentleman you talk about has been running for a year for this seat. I have had a lot of catching up to do, and that's what I'm doing. I'm talking directly to voters. We're doing meet and greets. We're doing fundraisers. I'm doing interviews, and then I have to do it all over again in Espanol because this is a very heavily Hispanic district, so I'm reaching people in the language that they speak. So I've got my work cut out for me. My focus is Maria Elvira Salazar and the awful job she has done in Congress, and I'm the person who can flip the seat for the Democrats in August.
So let's expand on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Why do you believe you are better suited to that than Robin Peguero, who is a former prosecutor,
Right.
who, as you said, has been in this race for a year? Why do you think you're the better choice?
Well, first of all, Jim, I don't know if you know this about me, but I've lived in this district, in District 27, since I was 12 years old, since my family moved here from New York. I like to say that when I write a book, the title will be From Anchor Baby to Anchor Man, because I am the child of 2 Cuban immigrants in New York. But when I was 12, we moved to South Florida, and I have lived in this district ever since. So I am the person who knows the district, who is known in the district for my years working on television, and people allowed me into their homes, and I feel like I earned their trust. I worked hard every day to earn their trust, and now I'm asking them earn their votes. And by the way, we have done internal polling that shows that I'm the person who can go to win the primary and defeat Maria Elvira Salazar.
So I guess one of the questions I would have is, again, as voters in the Democratic primary go to the polls to choose between you and Robin Biguero, can you identify any significant policy differences? Do you think that you're supportive of something that he's not, or are you critical of anything? So I just want to try to understand the contrast between yourself and your opponent in the primary on August 18th.
We probably agree on most of the issues. I've heard him speak, and he's a admirable young man. He has every right in the world to run. But Jim, people ask me, what kind of Democrat are you? I say, I'm the type of Democrat who's tired of losing elections. And I strongly feel that I am the person who can flip the seat. I am the person who can beat Maria Elvira Salazar in November.
So it's an electability argument. You believe you're better suited than Robin Biguero to take on Salazar.
100%.
All right, but let's talk about that then. Why? So make the case as to why you think you're the best, why you think you can beat Salazar, who I will note has right now more than almost $3 million of fundraising, cash on hand that she has. Your fundraising has been good, but not really. You're not blowing the socks off anybody. You posted $300,000 in your last quarter. That not a great quarter. Why do you think you're going to be able to beat Salazar?
Well, we have a grassroots campaign. We have 3,000 donors, and the average donation is about $150, $160 in that range. So it's grassroots. I don't have any corporations, any PACs, and we are reaching people and a lot of small donations. So we're very proud of that. Maria Elvira Salazar is known for saying one thing and doing something else. In fact, you interviewed her on this show. And I remember when you fact-checked her live on the air, when she was taking credit for bringing money for infrastructure projects, and you stopped her and said, no, you didn't vote for that. That wasn't the only time she's done that, Jim. She's done that on other occasions where she has taken credit for votes that she did not take, funds that she voted against. I devoted my career to truth and facts. So I am the person who has that credibility, trust and credibility to this race.
And I will note that we have invited Maria Elvira Salazar on this show repeatedly since that interview and her campaign, and she refuses to come back on. So that tells you something there. But so let's talk about what you think are the major issues in this race. Obviously, this was a district in which health care and the Affordable Care Act, this was the #1 congressional district. More people had signed up for Obamacare, ACA, and receiving subsidies in this district than any other congressional district in the country. She ended up voting, I think she voted to maintain the subsidies, but the overall bill passed.
Right.
Talk to me about why you think it's relevant for you to now come on.
Absolutely. Let's make it clear. She voted for the big, beautiful bill which cut people off those health care subsidies. And you're right. This district, District 27, has the biggest population of Obamacare enrollees. These are people who depend on this for their health insurance, and she voted to cut them off their health care. This is a woman who constantly is talking about the lack of medical attention in Cuba, yet she is cutting people in her own district off their medical care. I want to go to Washington to get those subsidies returned to them. I want to go to Washington to focus, Jim, on the overriding issue in this race, which is the cost of living, something that has affected my family. My daughters have had to move out of South Florida because it's simply unaffordable. My daughter Chanti just moved to North Carolina 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, and the way I found out was my wife was crying in bed one night. She had just found out that our daughter, our son-in-law, and our 1-year-old grandson have to move to North Carolina because they can't afford to live here. I want to face the affordability issue, bring federal funding here for affordable housing, fight against these tariffs that have made everything more expensive, fight against this immigration policy, which is cruel and inhumane, which has made the cost of labor more expensive and has people in this district living in fear. They don't want to go out. And as we speak, we have ICE agents out on the street grabbing people who are at a Home Depot, who are working, who are contributing to this economy, and that shouldn't be happening.
Would you vote to abolish ICE?
I want to abolish the type of behavior that I've seen, absolutely. Of course, I am for secure borders. I am for obeying our immigration laws. I am not for masked agents driving around cities in unmarked cars, pulling people over without judicial warrants, and they have the blood of American citizens on their hands. including American citizens who were exercising their right to protest and their right to use a camera to film what is unconstitutional behavior and should be illegal behavior. So I definitely would take a very, very hard look at ICE. Why is it the law enforcement agency in this country that has the biggest budget? It's almost like it's becoming a private militia for the Trump administration. So we need to take a very, very hard look at that. And I would abolish those tactics, yes.
We're currently at war in Iran. Would you vote to continue authorizing funding for that war?
Now, this war should not have happened without the Trump administration consulting Congress. They didn't consult Congress. They did not consult congressional leaders. They did not consult our allies. And look at what we're in now. This is a $1 billion a day war that should not have happened, that has made the Middle East more dangerous. And I would not continue funding for that until the administration comes to Congress and explains what is the end goal in Iran.
In the time that we have left, I think you touched on it a little bit, but let's broaden out a little bit. Why are you doing this? Why are you running for Congress?
You know, Jim, I compare it to the house is on fire and I'm a volunteer fireman showing up at the scene. It's the urgency of now. We are living in a critical time in our country. I strongly believe that our Constitution is under attack, our democracy is under attack, our right to due process is under attack. We have an immigration policy that's cruel and inhumane, and we have an economic crisis that's not being addressed by our current Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar, somebody who does insider trading, somebody who says she took votes that she didn't take, and somebody who's dishonest with the residents of District 27.
When you look at the environment right now for Democrats, you sort of see a lot going on with the Democratic Socialists of America and that movement right now. Talk to me about what you see taking place within the Democratic Party and whether or not you think that's dangerous, because that is going to be used by any Republican to run against any Democrat, is that Democrats are nothing but socialists and communists.
Right. And I hear that all the time. And by the way, I'm a lifelong Democrat. My father was a Cuban-American Democrat because he admired Lyndon Johnson for signing the Civil Rights Act. So I think that it's kind of a ridiculous statement to say, oh, you're a Democrat, you're a communist or a socialist. And what's happening in New York has nothing to do with Miami. This is Miami. That's not going to work. One of the things I find crazy is, oh, government-owned grocery stores. My father owned a grocery store. They're going to compete with my dad's bodega in the Bronx. So I don't get that. That's not me. I'm not socialist or communist. I have a track record of being anti-communist of all the times that I've been to Cuba, and my track record with human rights activists in Cuba, going back to Osvaldo Payá, the ladies in white, Elizardo Sanchez, all of the main dissidents in Cuba I've interviewed. I've traveled to Venezuela. I have lived the tragedy of Cuba. My family has been separated. My father's business that his family had was nationalized. My uncles and cousins went from being owners of the business to being employees. So I've seen what communism and socialism has done, and that is not who I am.
Elliot, thank you very much for coming in. And we will have Elliot's opponent in the primary, Robin Peguero, here next week to offer his perspective. In the meantime, we'll be right back. Before we go, a quick programming note. Starting next Sunday, Facing South Florida will move to 8:30 in the morning, so set your alarms accordingly. Well, that's all the time we have. If you have any thoughts or comments, feel free to contact me at jdefede@cbs.com. Oh, how I do enjoy hearing from you. Thanks again for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.